What is up, y'all? Welcome to another episode of FitBizU. I'm your host, Jill Coleman, and today I want to talk about what I'm calling a season of no. N-O. And I wanted to do this episode because I really get a lot of questions around productivity, getting shit done, balance, time management, energy management, how to fit in all of the things that you guys have to do for your business with everything else that's going on in your life. We did an episode maybe a month ago or maybe a little over that on how to balance sort of like what you're doing in person and maybe what you're doing at your corporate job with how you balancing your old schedule with a new business. That's what it's called, balancing your old schedule with a new business. And so this is sort of this is sort of related to that. But before we get started, I'll remind you guys that we're going to be opening the doors for FBA in a behind the scenes backdoor enrollment, very, very small cohort of 40 people or less this coming February. So if you're listening to this, it's going to be happening in a couple of weeks on February 24th. We're opening the doors. And like I said, we're doing a super small cohort of no more than 40 new coaches. So if you're thinking about joining FBA and you want to have a little bit more of a cozy, more intimate experience with me, you can go ahead and get on the interest list for FBA. I'm not going to be opening this to the public. I am not going to be opening this to my entire list. I am not going to be opening this up on social media. You can go to jillfitfree.com/FBA waitlist. And the link is also in the show notes. Okay. So, what is a season of no? I got this concept from my friend and colleague, Molly Galbraith. You guys know Molly. She has her own brand, but she's also the founder of Girls Gone Strong. A lot of you guys have Girls Gone Strong certifications. Molly and I have been friends for, we started our friendship in like 2011, 2012. So it's been, 13 or 14 years at this point. And so we've kind of came up together. And I always love connecting with Molly because we talk about sort of the early years of internet business. And this is back when she started Girls Gone Strong with like 6 other creators and 6 other coaches, all of which decided they didn't want to do it, which makes a lot of sense. It's at the time that they started, it wasn't really making a whole bunch of money. And Molly was just like, you know what, I'll take it, I'll run with it. And of course, she's made it into the multiple 7-figure business, if not, I don't know how big it is, but extremely successful business that it is, and serving a whole bunch of trainers and also regular folks who want to get in shape. And I really have a lot of respect for Molly. One of the reasons why, of course, because of everything she's done, and she's also done everything in her integrity, but one of the things that she is so good at is boundaries. And I feel like I'm pretty good at boundaries. If you are someone who coaches with me, you probably know that I'm pretty good at boundaries. That's why I always tell, especially my one-on-one clients or some of my mastermind students who do have messenger access with me, they're always like, I don't want to bother you. And, which is ironic because they pay the most, but they're always like, I don't want to bother you. I don't want to nag or whatever. I don't know how much I can, respond or how much I can talk to you. I always say, don't worry about it, right? Like, do not worry about reaching out to me. I have very good boundaries. I do not get triggered when I see messages come into my inbox if I'm not in a place that I can answer them at that time. And so I'm pretty good with boundaries. But what I realized recently, especially over the last 5 years, is we have had like the pedal to the metal. I've talked to you guys a couple episodes ago. We talked about the little offer funnels that we're doing, and it's sort of forcing us as a team to slow down a little bit. It's really easy to we've done launches so many times. I mean, we have products around launches. We have a 30-day launch system. We have our launch debrief. We have our 6-figure fitness. Like, we have so many courses teaching how to do open and closed cart launches, different types of launches, things like that. And for us, we could do them in our sleep. We've done over 80 launches at Jill Fit over the last 15 years. And so we wanted to slow down a little bit and do something different. So I wanted to take this opportunity, at least Q1 of this year, to be in a season of turning down opportunities. And the reason why Molly is relevant to this story is because she is someone who has extremely strong boundaries to the point where she will say no to even the closest people to her. So as someone who's a spirit, like, she's a leader, she's front facing, she's doing all the things to make Girls Gone Strong and having full-time employees and having a lot of people whose well-being she's responsible for. That's a huge amount of responsibility, right? This huge amount of accountability. And so for her, she realizes that if she doesn't take care of home base because she's saying yes to all these other opportunities, that her own business isn't reaching the potential it needs to provide the service that it is providing to its customers, but also to pay the bills of the clients, the people on our team. And we asked Molly to speak at Boss Up this past year. Boss Up is our live event, the Maestro and I do. And we asked Molly, and we were like, you know what, she's amazing. She stands for all of the things that we, believe in. And she was like, I've committed to saying no to everything this year. And she's like, and I love both of you so much. And this is like the exact type of speaking gig that I would normally say hell yes to. She's like, but we have so much that we need to do at Girls Gone Strong. And even me taking a day or two away from the business disrupts everything. So I really want, and it really stuck out to me. And I wasn't at all upset. I mean, of course, I was disappointed because she would have been amazing at the event. The speakers we had were also incredible. But I just really respected it because it was like, it would be so easy. It's like, oh, you just take a day, you just fly out, you speak, you get paid, like it's not like she's going to have to do anything on her own dime. We're covering her travel costs, like all this kind of stuff. And still, she had the foresight and the awareness to know, even if I take a day or two away of my focus on the things that we're doing for the business, that it's going to throw me off my game. Now, that may, if you're listening to that, may sound extreme to you, but to me, I was like, yes, this is what energy management is about. This is what focus is about. This is what presence is about. This is about leveraging your time and mental energy, more important, maybe your mental energy and your mental bandwidth, to get laser focused on something that is really important to you in your business. So there's a massive power in saying no. And I kind of said this on Threads, I'm using Molly as an example. I am now currently in a season of no. And it's been very hard because I've actually have had to turn down things I would normally say yes to colleagues of mine, to close friends of mine. And everyone gets it. Like everyone at this level totally gets it and is not upset by it, is like, good for you, blah, blah. And it's really a reminder to you guys that if you have to have boundaries or you have to say no or you have to decline opportunities, the only people who will be mad that you did that are people who can't see and don't understand what you're trying to do, the level of success, the level of performance that you're trying to operate at. And so, of course, when I see Molly, I'm like, I know what level of operations and what level of performance and success she's at. Like, of course I get it. And you can see this across the board, and people have had the most success is they all have in common their ability to say no to most things. I think there's a Steve Jobs quote that says literally like, focus is about saying no. And I've entered a season of no because we are working on something on the back end of JillFit. We're really trying to get these tiny offers off the ground. And it's taking a lot of not only brain space, but skill. This is a brand new skill set for our team. And it would be a massive disservice to my team and to what we're trying to do for me to spread my attention too thin, especially right now. And so I've entered a season of no. I've said no several times to things that I would normally say yes to. And if you guys have listened to this podcast, you guys know I go from I say yes to pretty much everything. I'm like, you never know. I will always default to saying yes. That's why I ended up being a personal trainer working 70 to 8 hours a week in the gym because I just said yes to everybody. I had no boundaries. And I want to talk about this because some people need to say no more and some people need to say yes more. And so it's important to know what stage of business you are in to know which is which. I'll give you guys an example. I work with a dude like years ago. He was a client of mine, young guy, just graduated from college. This must have been like 10 years ago. And I'll never forget, we were doing, he didn't have any clients at the time and wanted to build his online coaching business. And I was like, all right, well, let's talk about, maybe you do some sales calls, you do some audits, you get some people on the phone, you do free consults, whatever. And he was like, oh, whoa, 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 whoa. Well, I do make sure in the morning, I need my hour-long walk and I got to get my workout in, and I do meditation and journaling for a time. And he had this whole list of things that he was like, I need to get these things done. So I can't take potential client calls at that time. And this is someone who's 22 years old. And I'm like, good for you for having a morning routine. I'm like, but you can't complain about the clients you're not getting because you're not creating space to take them. You're not saying yes. You're not saying enough yes. So I do feel like there is this phenomenon. I've actually written an article on Medium about this. So you guys can Google it. It is the utility of overwhelm. I call it the utility of overwhelm. There is utility in saying yes to as many things as you possibly can in the beginning. The reason being because you don't know what's going to be what yet. You don't know what's important quite yet. So you're going to fall into the trap of saying yes to everything. And I hope you do because this is how you learn. You guys know I've said this before. Action creates clarity, and also contrast creates clarity, meaning the more experiences I have, the more discernment I now have about what I want to do and what I don't want to do. So, for example, when I was a personal trainer, when I said yes to every single person, oh, can you train me Friday at 8 o'clock at night? Sure. Can you train me at 5:30 a.m. on Saturday morning? Sure. Right. Over time, I was like, oh, okay. Like, no, I don't want to do that. I don't need that money that much. But I did for a time. I had to get to the point where I was like, I'm not available for Friday night at 8 o'clock. I'm not available for Saturday morning super early. I'm not available to work on Sundays. I'm not available too. But I wasn't going to say that preemptively, right? If I didn't have any clients, there was no demand. I need to say yes to everything. So I do believe when you're in the beginning stages of business, you should say yes way fucking more than you say no. Absolutely. But then you get to a point where you really understand time and energy management. You understand bandwidth, you understand focus, you understand presence, and you realize that there is no way that you can do something at an elite level when you are spreading yourself too thin. And I do believe that there is times in your life when you should just say yes. And there are times in your life, like right now, where you should say no, but don't say no preemptively. So, how do you know if it's time to say no? Number one, I would say that you've said yes a lot to the point where you are overwhelmed. You've said yes to this client, you've taken on these people for free, you're doing beta testing with these people, you're helping out with this person, you're promoting this product. Like you're saying yes to a whole bunch of shit. And you're like, okay, I literally not only do I have no more time and I'm making good money, but I have no energy left. Like I'm literally being spread so thin. I'm burning the candle at both ends. You guys know when you get there. That's the moment that you have to have some discernment. That's the moment at which you go, okay, what is really important here? What's going to help move my business forward? What do I just not love doing? What am I just shitty at? What am I just not? What do I dread? That's a really good litmus test. What part of your week do you just fucking dread? If you have, I don't know, maybe you have like, as a personal trainer, I remember having like, I'd have 8, 10, 12 clients a day. I remember like one client on my schedule and I'd be like, fuck, that person's coming today, right? It's not that they were fine. It just was so draining to me that it ruined my entire day. And I was like, yes, I should probably fire that one client if it's having that much of an effect on my mood. It doesn't mean that person's not fine. It doesn't mean they wouldn't be great for another trainer, but it's a no for me. But I don't know that unless I start saying yes to everything. So when I say there's utility and overwhelm, you get to the point where I hate to use the word earn, but you kind of earn the right to then say no to stuff because you've said so many yeses that you have that much more data and you have that much more information to actually know what is important to you. Not only what's important to you, but what you like doing, what you're good at doing, where the biggest dial movers are, etc. So for Molly, she's going, I'm always going to take care of home base first. I'm not, because I realize that if I take a day or two away from the business, that puts my own business back. And it's a disservice to the people whose livelihoods I have to provide as a business owner. So you have a different frame. And so I'm very aware at this point, even I've said this on other episodes, where if I take on a one-on-one client, that is honestly taking me away from building the business and is a disservice to the team. Because it's like, okay, now I'm going to coach a one-on-one client, which is just, it's good money. It's really good money. But I'm like, I'm just going to take that time away to the thing that we're trying to do, which is leverage the business and leverage my time better. It's not fair. And so I do have these sort of litmus tests. So I would say you'll know that you need to be in more of a season of no if you have demand. You already have demand. Maybe you have a wait list. Maybe you have a full client roster, and you probably have some cash reserves. At JillFit, I'm very modest with our finances. I don't think I've ever talked about this on this podcast, but I'm very conservative with our finances, meaning we have like about 2 years worth of like running the business expenses. If we didn't make any money for 2 years, we'd be fine. And that's very, very modest. Like I think that's probably even probably too much. But for me, I do like to feel that certainty. I have colleagues who like can't make payroll every year, I'm like a month, and I'm like, how is that possible? So for me, it's really important to feel safe. So you have demand, you have some sort of cash reserve so that you're like, I can take some time to maybe take a step backwards so that I can take 2 steps forward, which is exactly what we're doing at Jillfit right now with this tiny offer funnel. Like it's taking money to test these offers, and we're not making a shitload of money quite yet, but it's a labor of love. It's part of the process of really being able to scale this thing. And so for us, It's like, do we feel safe or do we need a cash infusion? If you are feeling stressed about money or you're feeling scarce about money, then maybe it's not the time to say no. Maybe you have to put pedal to the metal and you have to just go. And maybe you need a cash infusion. You need to be launching more. You need talking more people. You need to book more calls. But if you have demand, you have cash reserves, and there is a major skill or a major project that you're trying to figure out. So, for example, let's say you're trying to, I don't know, maybe you want to book a TEDx talk. You're like, you know what? I've always wanted to do a TEDx talk. It's going to take some prep work. That's going to take some dedicated time and energy away from the grind of the day to day because you have to work on that. Maybe it's a deadline. Maybe you got accepted to do a TED talk and now you have to do it. Maybe you're writing a book, right? For a lot of my colleagues who write books, it's like, they're like, I didn't really make that much money in my business this year because I focused on writing this book. So if you are trying to build a new skill like we are at Jill Fit, or you have a big project. So that was Molly's thing, is they had a brand new certification they were launching. And she was like, they obviously, they cite all their sources. They create like physical books for their certifications. They have to get that printed. There's a lot of people on the team working on the project. So for her, it was like, this is a really big deal. And this is something we've, brand new that we're doing in the business. And we need all hands on deck. Like I can't even take 2 days away. And so it's if you have a big project or a new skill that you have to put in that much more activation energy to learn. And I think when you get to that point, it's okay to say, you know what, I got to tighten up these boundaries. Even if, and that's what's hard, is to go, this would be a great opportunity, or I do love this person, or they are really great. Like when Molly was like, if there's anyone who's, like event I would want to speak at, it's you guys. So I just think it's a good reminder for us to be like, what season are you in? Do you need to be saying no more? Or do you just fucking need to be saying yes to every tiny opportunity because you just don't know yet? You haven't seen, you need to build momentum somewhere and you don't know where that somewhere is going to be. So you need to say yes to everything. I went through a massive phase of saying yes to every single thing. And slowly I've tightened up the reins and now I'm tightening them up even more to the point where I am saying no to everything at this point, whether it's a podcast. I just told our podcast producer, hi, Courtney. I told our podcast producer we were planning on doing some podcast reach outs to get me on other shows. And I was like, I just don't even want to shit on my calendar. Like, I don't want more meetings. I don't want more podcast recordings. Like, would that be quote unquote good for the business if I was on other people's podcasts? For sure. But I'm also like, it's not the last time I'm going to get asked, right? This is not an opportunity that I can't have in the future. It's not like now or never. So I think it's important to maintain an abundance mindset. And that's what Molly said too. She was like, you know what, if you guys do this next year, like I'm in for next year if you guys do it in 2025. We're not doing it in 2025. But she was like, next time I'm definitely in. Great. So it's just a season of no. Or maybe for you, it's a season of yes, knowing where you are within your business. So if you have demand, if you have a full client roster, if you're trying to learn a new skill or really focus on a new product or big project for the business, you have some cash reserves, you don't need money this second. Yeah, you can say no a little bit more if you need to, so that you have the time and, more importantly, the energy and the bandwidth to put towards the big thing that you're trying to get done. Good? All right, guys, thanks for being here. Appreciate you as always. And don't forget about the interest list for FBA. The link is in the show notes. Of course, you can always reach out to me at JillFit at FitBizU if you have any specific questions. And that's all I got. We'll see you guys on the next episode. Bye.